Hey guys, welcome back. Illusion here with you, bringing you part 2 of the mechanism or processing system for 1710. In this video, we're going to be talking about 4 times OR processing. So if you have not seen the other video where we talk about 2 times and 3 times processing, please go check that out before you watch this one. That way you can kind of have a clue of what we're doing. So I have upgraded these factories to the advanced factories, and you remember last video I told you the basic factories do 3 operations at one time. Well, the advanced factories now do 5 operations at the same time, and of course with the elite factory, the top tier factory, does even more at the same time. So you can see we have basically the same machines. We still have a smelting machine, we still have an enriching machine, we still have a crushing machine, we have a purifying machine, and we've added one more, which is now the chemical injection machine or chamber. So to get into 4 times processing, we're going to be making shards. And how you make shards is you take one piece of ore with hydrogen chloride in a chemical injection chamber to get out 4 iron shards in this case. So that's how we do our 4 times processing. So now we got to figure out how to make hydrogen chloride. Well, let's get into the salination tanks. So here's a salination tank. It's kind of a pretty good overview. It is a multi-block structure ranging anywhere from 3 blocks high all the way to a max size of 18. This is an 18 high structure. 4 advanced solar panels on the top and then a controller. So you're going to need a steady input of water. On this side I have Ender IO with conduits and a reservoir, and on this side I'm using extra utilities with a world interaction upgrade to feed in the water. So let's jump up here to the GUI. So here in the GUI you see we have it structured. We have a max height of 18, a multiplier of 0.8, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. We're not talking about that yet. And then a max heat of 1700 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is the progress bar indicating what our heat is. On the left side we have our water buffer tank, and then on this right side we have our brine. Brine is actually where we're going to be making in the salination plant. So I've let it run a little bit to go ahead and build up some brine. You can see the water buffer is actually building up as well. So we're going to jump down here, and you can see I'm using extra utilities, transfer node, and some transfer pipes. So what we're going to do, this is already holding 8 buckets of brine. So we're going to pump in the brine into electrolytic separator. So let's go ahead and get that done. So we have our brine coming in, and we're going to start. It's going to separate these down into chlorine and sodium. And you can see the sodium right here, and let's go ahead and outputting the chlorine. So we're going to dump the sodium. Sodium's not really any use to us right now, so we're going to dump it so that way the system will always run. Here we have a chemical infuser. This chemical infuser is taking the chlorine from here and the hydrogen from this separator. In fact, let's go ahead and dump this oxygen out, so let's get it cranked up so you can see now the pipe. So that's one thing about the electrical separators. If one of these buffers fills all the way to the top, the machine completely cuts off. That's why you have these dumps. So I'm going to just let this dump a little bit, kick the machine back on. So now we have a good solid buffer of hydrogen, and we have our chlorine coming on this side, and this is making us hydrogen chloride. So hydrogen, chlorine, chlorine's coming from here, from brine, and it's going to process. Now you can see it's not a fast process, but with these chemical infusers you can upgrade them. I should say upgrade them. You can make more of them. You can have this system as big as you want. You can have as many salination tanks as you want. So basically you can customize the system to what you're going to need. So you can see we have a little blue indicator on the pipe letting us know that we are now pumping hydrogen chloride into this chemical injection factory. And that's what we need to have our 4 times processing. Now I stagger these pipes a little bit because you cannot have these pipes running side by side with 2 different materials in them. So I kind of left the system a mess, but I wanted everybody to be able to look at it and say, okay, I kind of get what's going on here. So I still left in place this water going into this electrolyte separator to split the oxygen and the hydrogen. The hydrogen's now going over here, and the oxygen is now going into our second stage of processing to go there. Now I would venture to say one separator right here running this system will probably be not be enough. So you can scale this system depending on what your needs are of how fast. You can have 4 salination tanks and then a bunch of these and a bunch of electrolyte separators separating water into hydrogen. You can also take the hydrogen, separate it out. In fact, I'll do that. Let's see if I do have one right here. If you have some surplus hydrogen, you can actually use the hydrogen to make power for you. But you see it's not getting any hydrogen right now because it's probably backed up on oxygen again. You can see this is now producing power. And if I wanted to, I could just hook this power back into it. I should rotate it to make it a little bit more convenient, but yeah, you get the idea. So I'll just kind of let you guys look at the system, kind of get a good understanding, and then we're going to test the system out. Okay, so brine coming in, getting separated. We're dumping sodium, chlorine, plus hydrogen. Hydrogen chloride goes in here. So, you ready to give it a shot? So let's grab a handful of ore. Not that. Alright, do your thing. And you can see it running like a champ. And see, again, we killed our oxygen buffer. So this is kind of what I was expecting to happen. You stop dumping oxygen first of all. That'll help as well. But you see, the system's going to slow down a little bit since we're low on oxygen. So you can scale the system up if you need to, and it'll eventually process all the way through. We already got getting ready to have our 12th ingot come through. Pretty sweet system, huh? So we're going to let that run. And I want to jump over here to this other salination tank. Now, if you remember right here, I talked about the multiplier being 0.8. Now, the reason it's 0.8 is because we are actually in a plains biome. And a plains biome is not very hot. So with the multiplier, you're going to have better output. So if I fly over here, which I just happen to be next to a desert, the desert, of course, is going to be warmer. Now I'm going to show you how to activate the salination plant, because this one kind of threw me off when I first did it. You can see I have the structure built and everything, and it's all correct, but it's still saying incomplete. Well, you got to press this button to basically form it up. You can see it's structured 18, and now I have a multiplier of 2. So you can see that's 0.8, and this is 2. So this is going to make brine faster. You can see I already have it hooked up there, and I have it hooked up there. So that's already feeding the water in. And looks like we do have a very small surplus of water, which is fine. And all the brine is getting pumped out into this barrel that I have. So it looks like we already got, you know, almost half a bucket of brine. So compared to the 0.8 and this one's going to make more. So what I see a lot of people have done, and I've actually done as well, is to have a remote salination plant and then intertank it or tesseract the brine back to your main factory. And that's what I'm probably going to be doing in my series. So one last thing I want to show you guys. If you've generated a new world, and this is Mekanism 1710, we have some new world generation. In fact, there was some under here. I saw it earlier. There it is. So we actually have salt blocks, and that is new world gen for Mekanism. And when you break it, you're going to get just regular salt. Now, I had to kind of dig through NEI and to find out what a use for it was, and the documentation hasn't been updated on the Mekanism website to include the salt, but I was able to figure it out. So what you can do is in a chemical oxidizer, you can put in this salt. And so it's got power, and it's going to make gaseous brine. And then in this machine, the rotary condensator will take gaseous brine, condensate it to make liquid brine. And then if I wanted to, I can just hook these two systems up like that, since it's all feeding the brine into this machine to be separated. So that's a good way to use your salt with only 2 machines instead of having these huge plants. But from my experience, there's not going to be enough salt in the world gen to make this system very efficient. But I'm thinking this is more of just a supplemental. So you should see the system should be running very well still. Let's go ahead and pop this off so that way we feed all our hydrogen over to this machine. Still building up pretty quickly. And this one is the one that's taking its sweet precious time. And we've already used a lot of brine. We've already used that whole buffer tank of brine. And now the system is clogged up because we don't have any more hydrochloride. So it's going to be up to you to how to scale it appropriately, but this is a very neat system. I love building these huge, very ornate, very complicated builds of the mechanical techie feel. I love doing this. So this is fun for me, and I will be doing this in my my server play series. So be sure to check that out if you aren't already watching my channel. Otherwise, thanks for joining me on part 2 of our ore processing center, or system I should say. And then in part 3, the final part, we're going to get into 5 times ore processing, and that gets a whole lot more complicated. Basically, it's going to take all this system and then add in a whole nother stage with a lot more machines. So it'll be fun, and look for that in about a week or so. My forums link down below, my Patreon link, follow me on Twitter, and stick around if you're new to my channel, some other things going on, and I will see you guys very soon. And I'll just leave you as a kind of a closing shot. That way, if you need to, you can kind of reference back my build. And I'll talk to you guys soon.